I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Johnny Depp. Love him or hate him, you can't deny that the guy is an amazing actor. Sure, he's had some duds, but overall has proven himself to be worthy of his legendary career. But what are the origins of this infamous actor? How did he become a household name? Sure, you could say it was as one of Freddy Krueger's first victims, or his role in Platoon, but no. It was one role in particular that put him on the map. One role that he would look back on with mixed feelings of rejection and bitter knowledge that if it wasn't for this project, a project he hated at the time, then he wouldn't be nearly as famous as he is today. I, of course, am talking about Private Resort. What, am I the only one who remembers his incredible performance as Jack Marshall, the sex-crazed teenager in the final film of the Private Trilogy from groundbreaking producer R. Ben Ephraim? Philistines! Depp should have been nominated for this role, I say. He was robbed, I tell you. Robbed! All kidding aside, it's actually the hit show from the late 80s known as 21 Jump Street. Yes, 21 Jump Street is a stupid premise for a show that everyone gobbled up like crack, week after week, from 1987 to 1991. On paper, it shouldn't work. It should be incredibly stupid. It is a show that we should have forgotten decades ago. But surprisingly, the show wound up being far deeper than we thought, and created a megastar that we still love today. So why don't you join me in taking a stroll down that familiar street and seeing how high we can jump on this episode of Gone, but Not Forgotten. Thanks for watching Gone But Not Forgotten. If you enjoy our shows, please subscribe to our channel right now, like this video, and click on the bell so you can be notified each time a new video goes up. Now, back to the show. 21 Jump Street was created by Patrick Hasburg and Stephen J. Cannell. Cannell was a legend in TV who created such iconic shows as The Rockford Files, The Greatest American Hero, and the classic A-Team. The story of how 21 Jump Street began is a funny one. Cannell had been promised 13 episodes, but was told by the network that they were trying to tap into the youth demographic, feeling that 11 to 17-year-olds were mostly ignored. While having lunch with an executive, Cannell remembered an incident involving his friend, famed TV composer Mike Post. Post had recently had his house robbed, and while filing a report at the police station, he saw a young boy doing his homework. He figured this kid was one of the cop's sons. But then the kid took out a badge and a gun and put it in a drawer. When the alarmed Post had spoke to one of the officers at the station, the officer told him that that kid was an officer from the BY program, a section of the force that employed young officers who could pass for high school students. He then pointed to a church across the street and told him that they rented the church out to set up this BY program. Cannell then pitched this show to, quote, not waste a lunch, and the executive at this lunch went nuts over it. Thus, the show was picked up. The original name of the show was Jump Street Chapel, but the network told them to change it to avoid being confused for a religious show, and the 21 was added because it was the address of the chapel. This was also done intentionally because the network had done study groups which told them that shows with a number in the title did well with audiences. The show's casting began pretty quickly after that. Holly Robinson was cast in the role of Sergeant Judith Judy Hoffs. Judy was the smartest officer in this cast. She was excellent as posing as whatever character was needed on a case, and was very street smart with the youth culture. Even though that she had been acting since she was a child, Robinson said her first real break in the industry was in Howard the Duck. Wow, I guess we have different definitions of what a break in the industry is. But in all seriousness, Robinson was hoping to break into music, and she took the show so that she could eventually do that. Due to her musical talent, she was even asked to sing the show's iconic theme song. I wish I could play it for you folks, but sadly YouTube's copyright system will not allow me. Fun fact for you though, the jump scream in the song was performed by both Johnny Depp and Peter DeLuise. Speaking of Peter DeLuise, he was cast as the comic relief of the show, Officer Douglas Doug Penhall. Peter is no stranger to comedy himself, as he is the son of famous comedian Dom DeLuise. As the comic relief of the show, he was always getting into trouble, but could have a dramatic moment from time to time. One of the best examples was in the episode Best Years of Your Life, an episode that dealt with suicide. The plot's episode involves a young boy killing himself, which leads to Penhall slowly starting to unravel. He starts off cracking jokes, then he gets angry, and finally it's revealed that his mother committed suicide, and because of this, his father drank himself to death. DeLuise gave an outstanding performance here, and the episode dealt with a subject that wasn't dealt with very often back then, the troubles of mental health. Plus, it featured a pre-fame Brad Pitt. Oh my god, Brad Pitt and Johnny Depp sitting at the same table on screen? How has the universe not imploded? The character of Sergeant Harry Truman, or H.T. Aoki, was played by Dustin Nguyen. Aoki had the most interesting backstory of the cast. At first, he was introduced as a Japanese-American police officer, but it's later revealed that his name was actually Vin Van Tron, and that he was a Vietnamese immigrant. His parents both died trying to escape Vietnam with him, and he eventually took the name of another person pretending to be Japanese, so that he could avoid the bigotry at the time towards Vietnamese immigrants. The writers altered this character when they learned that the actor who portrayed him, Dustin Nguyen, was also a Vietnamese immigrant, whose family struggled to escape the communist regime. Dustin was an excellent actor, and professional kickboxer as well. Stephen Cannell stated he cast Dustin because he was impressed by the range of his acting ability. He could really emote, and was not as reserved as the other Asian actors who read for the part. Dustin became one of the first Asian heartthrobs in American culture. He would be swarmed by fans, and was rather uncomfortable with the fan mail he received, as many of the letters would involve the fans' personal troubles like depression or addiction. He said that he didn't want to feel responsible for other people's lives. However, the show itself was credited for saving lives, as episodes would flash 1-800 numbers for suicide prevention or drug addiction call centers that help with those issues. They even did PSAs in their early episodes.
Wait a minute, how are we gonna do this? Oh, we don't want to sound too preachy, right?
Yeah, it's really important that we don't make it seem like we're pointing the finger at anybody.
No, but drugs are a problem. I mean, there's a lot of peer pressure in high school, and the point is, drugs can really mess you up. And if anyone needs help and feels like talking about it, call 1-800-COCAINE. We should have filmed it.
What was that number again?
Holly, it's right there.
Oh.
Wow, Johnny Depp is talking to me about why you shouldn't do drugs, while he himself is probably coked out of his mind. So finally, we need to talk about the star of this show, Johnny Depp, in the role of Officer Thomas, Tom Hanson. Hanson was the rookie of the team, who was a talented cop that began to shine as one of the most experienced detectives on the team. He was excellent at figuring out who was responsible for selling drugs or performing other crimes within the school. He also connected with kids who got in trouble and needed help. Depp was not the first choice for the role of Hanson. Jeff Yeager was originally cast, but he just didn't mesh well with the look of the show. Enter Captain Edward Scissorhands. Depp got this role because he was desperate for money. He was broke and wasn't going to make rent that month. So even though he was sick with the flu, he auditioned for this role and got it. He was then flown to Vancouver, where it became one of the first shows to film in the city that is now known as the TV center of the world. In my opinion, 21 Jump Street's pilot is the worst and best episode of the series. It is cheesy and full of overacting, which is what makes it such an amazing episode. Don't believe me? This first scene is something out of an SNL skit.
I just think the clarinet stinks.
So does the meatloaf.
Has this ever happened to you? Don't you just hate it when badly written stereotypical thugs in laughable clothing break into your home? I know I do. Well, buy yourself a Depp security system. You'll be too high and pretentious to care when criminals ransack your home. Depp security systems. Brought to you by Bad Marriages. We then are introduced to rookie cop Tom Hanson, played by Johnny Depp. Hanson is trying to live up to his dead father's legacy, but he keeps screwing up. And rather than taking a desk job, he accepts a position in the new Jump Street program. While on his way there, he begins to hear his father's voice in an attempt to show the character's insecurities. The rest of the episode takes its time introducing the cast, particularly the man in charge of the Jump program, Captain Richard Janko, played by Frederick Forrest. To sum up the plot of the pilot in a nutshell, Johnny Depp goes undercover at a high school trying to take down an evil drug dealer, who's blackmailing this suburban idiot because he happens to be hooked on the smack. And that's another thing. Maybe it's just me, but it feels like the writer went to the mall and eavesdropped in on some high school students. Then he just went, okay, now I know the hip lingo, and proceeded to write this horrible dialogue.
Save the red eye.
Who's he?
Relax, dude sprung.
Who is it? Some fresh-looking freak. And a gray boy. What do you want?
I need an 8-track. I heard you're up on that.
Okay, really, am I crazy here? This sounds like made-up words to me. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but did people actually talk like this back in the 80s? The show did drastically change in the middle of season 1. At first, the show revolved around the main cast, and the main cast alone. It's almost like they worked in a clubhouse. But in the episode, Gotta Finish the Riff, that's when the show took a new direction. Captain Jenko was killed off the show, and replaced by Captain Adam Fuller, played by Stephen Williams. You see, Frederick Forrest, who played Captain Jenko, was not happy on this show. He was a film actor, and was not used to working on TV. So he quit, and Stephen Williams became a cast member. This is when the entire look of the show changed. Instead of a clubhouse, the church now looked like a real precinct. The episodes began to be written a lot better, such as the best episode of Season 2, and in my opinion, the best of the entire series, titled Orpheus 3.3. In it, Hanson is fed up with his girlfriend, as he thinks she's boring, and is about to dump her. But when they go out to dinner, they stop at a convenience store where an armed robber kills her in front of him. The episode revolves around Depp slowly going insane with guilt. He becomes obsessed with the 3.3 seconds that he feels he could have done something to save her. And Depp gives an amazing performance here.
The only things you can do in 3.3 seconds, you can take off your shoes, pop a beer, and shoot someone in 3.3 seconds.
Come on, Hanson.
You can hold your finger down on the remote control and pass 17 stations in 3.3 seconds. You can open a can of tuna fish, shuffle and bridge a deck of cards, or twist the tops off 6 bottles of ginger ale in 3.3 seconds.
Hanson, please.
You can ring a doorbell 22 times, lock and unlock a deadbolt 4 times, or sing the entire alphabet in 3.3 seconds.
I'll be honest, I barely saw this show back in the day, but I did watch this episode, and all these years later, I still remember it. This is just a testament to Johnny Depp's talent, and it's also why he hated the show. He was constantly butting heads with the network, as he wanted to do some real acting, while the network just wanted him to look pretty for all the Tiger Beat magazines. Still, for all the drama behind the scenes, the show produced some excellent episodes, and tackled a variety of topical issues like teenage prostitution, AIDS, and homophobia. Some episodes could get a little preachy, such as the previously mentioned Best Years of Your Life.
What the hell am I supposed to do?
Don't avoid the subject. Don't be afraid to talk about suicide directly. You're not going to put ideas in anyone's head. Listen, and if they need it, get them to someone who can help.
Okay, I get it, sir. You went to Harvard. Enough already. But other episodes were not that obvious, such as the one entitled 2245.
2, 4, 6, 1.
Okay, enough out of you, Jackman. You cannot make a musical out of everything. To be honest, we don't know why this episode is titled 2245, although many theories have been made by fans. But regardless, it's an incredible episode that many people consider the best of the series, which is funny because barely anyone in the cast is in this episode. The story revolves around a criminal named Ronnie Seebach, who appeared previously in Season 2 and is now on death row. The episode is based on the events leading up to his death, with Hanson appearing a few times to ask him to make a video denouncing crime for kids. Ronnie refuses to do so, and we see his relationship with Rosie Perez blossom. What I love about this episode is how it goes in directions you did not expect. You expect him to break down and make this video. You expect Rosie Perez to be there when he dies, but it doesn't happen. Only Hanson keeps his promise to be there for him. It's a tragic episode, dealing with how sometimes crime is unavoidable, and how life is unfair. It also has excellent acting from a young Rosie Perez. Sure, there are a few clunky moments like when the actor playing Ronnie is clearly off of his mark, but all in all, he gives a solid performance in this solid episode, and you guys should check it out. As for bad episodes, there are some clunkers, but nothing worth talking about. Most of them suffer from a lot of boring and pointless scenes. The most frustrating occasion is when there's a clear opportunity to elevate an episode that is not taken advantage of. Take, for example, the 13th episode of Season 3, titled AWOL. In the episode, Hanson and Penhall are asked to bring in a soldier who has gone AWOL. They have to bring him back to base before he gets charged with being a deserter. That is a good premise for an opportunity to talk about the pros and cons of joining the military, to address the question of whether the government should be recruiting high school students who maybe don't know what they're getting into. But instead, we get this.
I saw Tony Gwynn. Hey, have you guys ever fooled around with a tall, leggy blonde?
Jesus, how did this script get approved? In Season 3, Officer Dennis Booker was introduced to the cast, played by Richard Greico, whom they would normally pair up with Johnny Depp. Now, how can I describe Greico's performance nicely here? Do any of you remember that guy in high school who was very cool because he was relaxed and confident in himself? Well, that was Johnny Depp. Now, do you remember that guy in high school who was trying way too hard to be cool? The guy who dressed himself up to make himself look intimidating? The guy who screamed insecurity when you looked at him? Yeah, that was Richard Greico. I found him so annoying. He also tried to mug for the camera and delivered so many stupid lines.
Oh, this is the Army service ribbon.
And what's that one right there?
Vietnam Service Medal.
That's correct, sir.
Hey, Ramones, 15th anniversary tour.
Oh, fuck you, Booker. Making fun of a man who defends our country? You dick. Booker got a spin-off series, which lasted only 1 season. I can't tell you whether it was good or not. I didn't see it. And Johnny Depp would leave the show in Season 4 to work with some guy named, Tim Bearton? Anyway, it was a movie about some weirdo who had scissors for hands. Pfft, yeah, good luck with that movie making any money. After Depp left, the show would inevitably be cancelled, due to low ratings. Low ratings, you say? Wait a minute, what network aired this show? Oh, here we go. Fox, the worst network for original programming. Let me guess, it got cancelled because they put it in the Friday Def slot and didn't promote it, right? Jesus, why shouldn't I be surprised? God, does the Fox network suck. What? You're telling me that Fox actually put a good show on a decent time slot? My God, my whole concept of reality has been called into question. It was pretty clear that without Johnny Depp, this show was doomed. The majority of bad episodes came during this 4th and final season without him. It was pretty clear that everyone had given up. The writing was on the wall. And on April 27th, 1991, 21 Jump Street came to a close. 21 Jump Street was a trailblazer in procedural cop dramas. It did the whole rip from the headline shtick before anyone else did. Also, it had the unique quirk of not ending the episode with a clear ending. Things were never fully resolved at the end of an episode. It was ambiguous. Just like life. So should this show come back? Well, I think so. Yes, many things have been done since then, but just not with the same flavor as 21 Jump Street. I, for one, could see this show working with a new cast. New generations have grown since then, yet many of the same problems they face are still around. It would be nice to see a familiar show we used to love back in the day return to our screens again. If you're interested in catching up on this show, it is available to stream for free on IMDb TV. At least for now, anyway. So why don't you put on your leather jacket and wildly stupid earring and jump on over to 21 Jump Street. Just don't buy any drugs there. I hear you may get into trouble with those kids. I'm Jesse Shade, speaking on behalf of David Arroyo for JoBlo.com, and thank you for watching our show. If you like what you see, please subscribe to our JoBlo Videos channel. Tell your friends who like this sort of content, and turn on the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest videos. We're an independent company that appreciates all of your support, and we will see you next time for the next installment of Gone But Not Forgotten.